When Stranger Things wrapped up in 2025, millions of fans said goodbye. But what if the real tragedy wasn't in Hawkins? One detail in the final moments hinted at something deeper, something fans never saw. A small change in the script, hidden in plain sight, revealed more about the show's real goodbye than we ever expected. What did they cut? And why? Stay tuned.
This is not how I wanted things to begin. But everything's going to be all right.
The real time. That's Stranger Things. Took to finish. Did you know Stranger Things actually took almost 9 years to wrap up? The first season hit Netflix back in 2016 with just 8 episodes. It felt like such a quick binge back then, right? A few hours and you were done. But by the time we reached Season 5 in 2025, the story about Hawkins and its missing kids had stretched out so much more than we ever expected. It wasn't just about the show anymore. It felt like we were living through almost a decade of our own lives while watching the kids grow up on screen. Each season felt unique. It was always something we'd look forward to for months. But in reality, there were years of waiting, unexpected delays, and watching the cast grow up in front of our eyes. What makes this so bittersweet is that Season 5 wasn't just another season finale. It was more like watching a movie. It was over 2 hours long, but it was still on your TV, not in a theater. Netflix didn't hold back when it came to funding this show. They spent around $30 million per episode for Season 4, and by the time Season 5 was ready, the final season cost them nearly $500 million. But how much of that money is really felt in the story? Sure, the visuals and effects were top-notch, but what we felt more was the passage of time. The time spent waiting, hoping, and aging. It wasn't just the characters who changed. We changed too. By the time we said goodbye to Hawkins, it felt like closing a door on our own lives. So many years spent in this world with these characters, only to realize how much of our own time had passed. Saying goodbye to Hawkins wasn't just about the characters, it was about our journey with them too. But what exactly makes this goodbye sting so much more than we thought? When you think about Stranger Things, remember how it all started. Hawkins seemed like a typical small town, right? Arcades, Christmas lights, and shopping malls. A place where everything was safe and simple. But the longer the show went on, the more those once cheerful things turned into a twisted reminder that Hawkins was anything but safe. Remember the Byers string lights? At first, they were cute holiday decorations, but soon they became something more, a symbol of a rescue mission to save Will. It wasn't just a light display anymore, it became a tool to save a kid's life. The school AV room was another place that changed. What started as a hangout spot for the nerds quickly turned into a battlefield. Every place that felt like home in the beginning got turned upside down as the show progressed. And that's exactly why rewatches hit even harder. One of the biggest changes was how the show itself started blending with real-world nostalgia. In 2019, Coca-Cola brought back New Coke, thanks to the Stranger Things nostalgia factor. Then there was Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill. After Season 4, the song's popularity shot up by 9,000%. It was no longer just a song, it became a part of the show's narrative. Stranger Things took real memories and turned them into something darker, reminding us that even the things we love can become symbols of danger. Those malls, songs, and snacks were no longer fun. It was a way to shield ourselves from what was really happening. It's almost like the show is constantly telling us that safety was never really there to begin with. But despite all of that, we kept watching. And the question is, why do we keep falling for it? It's strange to think about, but the events and that long wait made the cast's real-life aging impossible to ignore. And then there's Joe Keery, who plays Steve. He was in his 30s by the time Season 5 was filmed, but his character still acted like a young adult in his 20s. It's almost unsettling to see how time moves so differently for the actors compared to their characters. They were aging, but their roles weren't. This feeling of being stuck in time isn't just strange. It's kind of unsettling, don't you think? The more you watch, the more you start to notice how much these characters are holding on to emotional scars that never heal. Take Will Byers, for example. He came back from the upside down, but he's never the same. Then there's Hopper, who can't move past his own grief and turns to work and alcohol to cope. But that doesn't fix anything, does it? These struggles are real, and the show doesn't shy away from showing them. And the impact is huge. In 2022 alone, Stranger Things was streamed for over 52 billion minutes. That's a lot of people watching pain, over and over again. These moments didn't just hit us once, they looped in millions of homes. And as we watch again, we see more of the pain, more of what was missed, more of the cost these characters paid. But even with all that pain, there's a layer to this show that most people never even notice. Imagine being Finn Wolfhard. He was just 13 when the show started, and on top of Stranger Things, he filmed it right after. Back to back. That's a lot for any teenager, don't you think? Finn has talked openly about his struggles with anxiety and panic during that time. Going from a regular life to global fame almost overnight. How can anyone really prepare for that? It's tough to imagine what it would be like, having people talk about your face, your body, your every move all over the internet. Sure, it might sound like a dream job on the surface. Fame, money, and a massive following. But the reality was much darker. There was no privacy, no escape. The cast had to juggle being thankful for their fans while also dealing with the pressure of fame, something that often became overwhelming. By the time season 5 came around, those child stars were now adults. They were saying goodbye to Hawkins, but they were also saying goodbye to the childhood they lost along the way. How do you even begin to deal with that kind of loss? And it's not just the characters who leave Hawkins behind. The actors themselves are letting go of pieces of their own lives. As they said their goodbyes on screen, it was also a farewell to their childhoods, overshadowed by fame. The real sadness here isn't just in the characters we see on screen. It's in the real-life experiences of the people who played them. That's what makes the heartbreak of Stranger Things so much deeper than just the story itself. The real heartbreak of Stranger Things isn't just the monsters. Sure, we're used to seeing the kids fight the supernatural, but it's the deaths that really gut us. Take Bob Newby. He starts off as the reliable, safe guy. He's kind to Joyce, even when things seem crazy, but then, in an instant, he's gone. Ripped apart by demodogs. Fans still talk about how shocking and emotional his death was. Why? Because it happened when we finally let our guard down, thinking it was safe. Then there's Billy Hargrove. He started as a villain, loud, rude, and reckless. But in his final moments, he sacrifices himself for 11. It's a redemptive moment, but it doesn't undo the damage he did to others. Max's grief shows that there's no easy fix for Billy's pain. His redemption doesn't erase his past. Sometimes pain lingers, even after a sacrifice. And don't forget Eddie Munson. Eddie was the misunderstood outcast, blamed for things that weren't his fault. He has his moment of heroism, playing Metallica's Master of Puppets and saving others. But Hawkins still condemns him as a criminal. He dies a hero, but the town never gets to see it. And finally, Max. She fights off Vecna with the help of running up that hill, only to end up in a coma. Her friends are left heartbroken. Every victory in Stranger Things comes with a price, and some scars never heal. The tragedy isn't just about monsters. It's about what the characters lose along the way. And with each passing season, that truth becomes more obvious. In the beginning, Hawkins' lab seemed like the obvious villain. You had the shady experiments, locked doors, and creepy science. But as the series goes on, you realize the true enemy is much bigger. In Season 3, we find out about the secret Russian base under the mall. The government and grown-ups turn Hawkins into a place for dangerous experiments. And the monsters we see? They weren't random. They were made. The real villains in Hawkins weren't just the creatures. They were the adults who controlled everything. Then in Season 4, we meet Vecna, a villain who feeds on guilt and pain. But where did this darkness come from? Was it always there in Hawkins, or did the adults create it? The more we uncover, the more we see that the real enemies weren't the monsters we feared. They were the people who built this nightmare. This realization changes everything. The deeper you go into Hawkins' dark history, the more you understand that the monsters weren't the only thing we had to fear. There was something much worse lurking beneath it all. And as we move into the final seasons, that truth becomes harder to ignore. In 2025, Stranger Things hit a huge milestone. 40 billion minutes of the show were watched. That's a lot of time spent revisiting a show that leaves us feeling empty, right? So why do we keep going back? What is it about this show that makes reliving the pain feel so good? When you rewatch Stranger Things, you start noticing new things. Little moments that felt normal before now feel heavy. Will I be walking home in 1983? It's the last time he's ever safe. Hopper talking about his daughter? The pain in his voice hits you harder. Max's jokes hide an underlying sadness that you missed the first time. The show doesn't change, but your perspective does, and it hits harder the second time. Even as Hawkins becomes darker and more intense, we can't stop watching. It's almost like we're addicted to the pain. Even though we know it's going to hurt, we're drawn back in. What is it about Stranger Things that makes us keep coming back, knowing the heartbreak is coming? The truth is, Stranger Things didn't just break our hearts. It showed us the painful reality that sometimes, to survive, you have to lose everything. And the longer we watch, the clearer that truth becomes. Season 5 wasn't just a finale, it was the biggest event of the year. In just 5 days, it racked up 59.6 million views, with over 8.65 billion minutes watched in 1 week. The numbers alone show how huge it was, but what really matters is the emotional impact. The finale didn't just wrap up the show, it closed a chapter that had taken 9 years to finish. By the end, Hawkins wasn't just a small town, it had become a war zone. Military checkpoints, government agents, complete lockdown. The kids who used to spend their time in arcades were now fighting to survive. This wasn't just the end of a story, it was the end of an era for these characters. That goodbye didn't feel like a finale. It felt like the end of a piece of our lives. And even when the world is saved, Hawkins still stands, but nothing is the same. The characters, the town, and even the audience are left wondering how to move on when nothing will ever return to what it was. Stranger Things has always been about survival, but in the end, it asks the most difficult question. What do you lose to survive? And the answer? Everything. The true story isn't always in the scenes we remember. Sometimes it's in the moments we missed. Subscribe, stick around, and get ready for the next reveal waiting just beyond this screen. The secret begins now.